Hiya! Thanks so much for joining me today. Today's video is going to be about the films I've been watching recently. I watched one film online, which was Sing Street. Now, I'd heard a lot about Sing Street, heard a lot of good things. For me, I came into the film expecting, well, like another kind of musical film. Wasn't really sure what to expect. It's not really my cup of tea. I loved the film. I think it was one of those films that, similar to Eddie the Eagle from last week, it's really upbeat. There are some difficult things going on in the film. There are certainly some things that are hinted at in terms of troubles within the film, difficulties within people's lives and relationships. The main character is a young boy who's at a Jesuit school. His parents can no longer afford to send him there because they're having financial troubles. In the 80s, they send him to his local Roman Catholic school, which is Sing Street School. And he's sort of struggling to get on there. He has various people who are causing him issues. The typical sort of bully thing, authority figures, coming of age type stuff, going into a new school, new environment, not really sure what he's doing. And he takes refuge in music. Starts a band with a friend. Well, actually makes friends through starting the band. And that's really where the film picks up and where the energy and the life comes from in this film. The musical numbers themselves, I can still remember them in my head, which is quite rare for a film I've seen once. When you hear a track, and it's embedded in your head after only one hearing. It's pretty rare for me. So tracks like Drive It Like You Stole It, Riddle of the Model. I love that. If you told me that actually came out in the 1980s, like a sort of Duran Duran New Romantic type song, I would have assumed you were right, because it really is of that time. And that was for me the biggest connection with the film. You have people who are talking, these people are kind of talking about my music from when I was growing up. I grew up in the 80s through to the 90s. So I was, I was between 5 and 15 during the 1980s. So for me, it's a period where I kind of got into music, I got interested in music during that 80s period. Not so much in the Duran Duran stuff, but when they got into The Cure, for me that was a massive part of it. So the costumes, the outfits that they're going for, the influences they have, the discussions they have about music and what music means, the two lead characters who are played by Ferdia Walsh-Pilo and Lucy Boynton. I think their acting was really good. It was definitely good, but the music was a star. So when I first finished watching the film, I thought 9 out of 10. I thought I enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed La La Land last week. Having thought about it a bit more, I don't think it's quite a 9. I think I've settled in at an 8. It's an 8 out of 10. It's a really good film. It's well worth a watch. I can understand why some people are questioning why it wasn't amongst the best film nominees for this year's Oscars. I could see it being in there for sure, but there are also other films that I could see being in there as well, which were left out, and so I think it's in the discussion. It's in the fight for that kind of 10th spot in the Oscars nomination. So yeah, for me, great film, really good. Thoroughly recommend it. Give it a go. It's funny. So last film I watched, difficult film to talk about. Went to the cinema and I watched Split, which is a new film by M. Night Shyamalan. Now, this one is very difficult to talk about because it's not a twisty type film, but there's a reveal at the end of the film which is, if you know about it, if you know what it is, it would cause huge problems to give it away. So my take on this film was, I've seen all of Shyamalan's films, except Last Airbender, because I have standards. But I have seen. I've seen Signs, I've seen Sixth Sense, I've seen Unbreakable, I've seen Lady in the Water, I've seen The Village. I don't mind The Village. I think The Village is fine, but for me, because I'd seen the previous films, I could relate to this film, and I think I could appreciate this film. I think this film might be difficult to really appreciate if you didn't watch and enjoy some of Shyamalan's early films at least. So if you've seen the three kind of good ones, Sixth Sense, Unbreakable and Signs, then I think you'll stick with it long enough to actually get to the end and, you know, have that nice reveal that you do get at the end of the film, which kind of makes everything everything all that much better. The plot of the film is that James McAvoy plays a guy called Kevin Crumb, who is he has 23 personalities, who, you know, in his head sort of sit in a circle, and there's a light, and whenever one of them occupies the light, that is the one that you see being personified through Kevin. And there are various characters, some of whom aren't allowed into the light. Characters like Dennis, because they have, let's say, they have proclivities that are, yeah, they're not welcome in the real world. Let's put it that way. There are other smaller characters. So there's younger characters like Hedwig, who's a 9-year-old boy. You have Patricia, who again isn't allowed into the light too much. And they're all kind of controlled for the most part by a sort of central character, Barry, who's I guess a fashion designer. And the film kind of it has a sort of general theme going through that as Barry, Kevin, talks to his therapist, there's a theme proposed that the actual personalities are capable of making physiological changes to the body. So the characters themselves can actually influence what the body does. The idea being that someone who has, you know, someone could have two personalities, one of whom is blind and the other one isn't. And the one that's blind literally couldn't see, that the body would be physically affected in that way. Now, with the 23 characters, not wishing to go into spoilers, Dennis, one of the characters that's not supposed to be in the light, abducts 3 girls. And that's really where the film kicks off. You have the abduction of these 3 girls and the story that's told throughout the, you know, these personalities. And this is all that's in the trailers. For me, the film lives and dies on the performances of its 2 main actors. And so the actors I'm talking about are James McAvoy and Anya Taylor-Joy. James McAvoy, as you know, from Professor Xavier, various other films that he's done. And you'll know Anya Taylor-Joy from films like The Witch. These 2 actors completely make the film. For me, if you didn't have the quality of the acting done by these 2, I think you might get to a point where you kind of give up on the film a little bit, and then by the reveal at the end, you would have lost a lot of the momentum of the film. And for me, that would be a real shame. So, for me, M. Night deserves absolute... he deserves all the kudos, he deserves all the praise for getting these 2 core actors into the film whose acting and skill can carry you through. James McAvoy was by far and away the best part of the film. You really believe that these are different personalities, different people. Same face, same guy, slight different clothing changes, but essentially it's all in his face, it's all in his tone, it's all in his intonation. And I loved it. I could just sit and watch this guy talk as different characters for as much time as he cared to give me. So, backed up very well by Anya Taylor-Joy. She was solid. She was really, she really sort of portrayed fantastically well the problems that her character had. And again, I won't go into any details, but there are hints that she's got some kind of troubled past. And in being kidnapped in some way, you know, she has let's say she has a somewhat unique viewpoint to your average teenager. Anyway, having said all that, for me this film came out at a really respectable 8 out of 10. It was a great film. It's M. Night getting back to his very best. The fact that it doesn't have what I would call a genuine twist, I liked. I really, really liked that. I thought he did well with his last film, The Visit. But for me, this one really came back. And if you like those first 3 films, I think this is going to give you some faith that we're back into a really good zone. Looking forward to his next film. I think if he keeps this up, keeps it a bit smaller, small budget, Blumhouse again doing a fantastic job with their films, I think this is a really, really good one. I think there's a lot to recommend this. So, thanks for joining me today. Those are the films I've watched this week. I've got a whole load of films lined up to watch for next week, which I'm really looking forward to. Again, trying to get through 2 or 3 of the classics. doing the ironing last night, I had to cleanse my palate somewhat, so I watched Police Academy. I shan't be reviewing Police Academy. It is what it is. It made me laugh, but yeah, something with palate cleanse before I get back into some more classics. Anyway, hope you have a really great day. Thanks so much for tuning in again. If you like it, like it. If you want to comment, please do comment. And if you're not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Down there somewhere. Go subscribe. So, thank you very much for joining. Glad you made it all the way to the end. Thanks so much for that. And bye. Bye.